Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, it's my last day in Vice City. Mrs. Sujano and I are about to head onto a ship to explore even more areas. And on a side note, if you wanted to check out our travels, head over to her YouTube page, youtube.com/theaveragetourist. And she's got Instagram and all of that great stuff too. Anyways, here first on the docket, and we are talking about something very interesting. PS4 emulator PS Off just got a brand new update, and it's titled, well, the update version is 2025 February 5th. So I guess you can know when the update was released here. And if you wanted to check their compatibility tracker, I do recommend giving it a look, and like everything we talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. So the developers say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another round of PS Off testing. This release brings viable fixes and implementations for rendering, performance, input, date and time, calculations, events, file systems, and many more. One notable milestone, Last of Us Remastered is now in menus. While Shat PS4 is currently known as the de facto PS4 emulator given the fact that it runs Bloodborne as well as a bunch of other stuff, other PS4 emulators are starting to catch up. I mean, this is really, really big for PS Off. And speaking about stuff getting better, next up we're talking about a relatively new Sega Dreamcast emulator called DC. DC is a very experimental Dreamcast emulator written in Zig, and it just got a brand new update. So the latest update here for DIG is version 0.3.0. As for what's changed, there's a bunch of bug fixes, some performance optimization, and a pre-sort mode for Soul Calibur Intro DCA3 and even more, and there's a small UI polish. On top of that, I do recommend checking out the compatibility tracker for this emulator so you can see what works and what doesn't and what has issues. Moving on, and we're talking about a very interesting rumor if you're a fan of the Devil May Cry series. So if you're a fan of Devil May Cry 3, there's reportedly, or rumoredly, there's a rumor out there right now that there's going to be a Devil May Cry 3 remake. So based on my understanding here, all of these rumors have started from Virgil's voice actor. Virgil's voice actor has reportedly hinted at a Devil May Cry 3 remake. And I think this would be absolutely awesome. I'm a big fan of the Devil May Cry series, specifically 1, 2, and 3 I think are awesome. I know I said 2 in there, and I know a lot of people don't like 2, but I did, at least the first disc. I thought it was alright. Anyways, here it seems as well that there's going to be a Devil May Cry anime series that schedules to premiere in April, which also ties the timing in relatively nicely. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Would you be excited about a Devil May Cry 3 remake? Would you be excited about instead just a brand new Devil May Cry game? And I guess, which Devil May Cry game is your favorite? Do you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? I don't even know. Maybe you're from the future and can say you like a future game. I'm a big fan of DMC 1, 2, and 3. I'm still throwing 2 in there. I think it's all right. Next up here, we're talking about RetroAchievements. And if you're a fan of RetroAchievements, you're probably going to be a big fan of this announcement. You can now change your username in RetroAchievements, or at least ask to. So with the latest update to RetroAchievements, they say username changes are here, hubs have been improved, and game suggestions now follow a more accurate algorithm. Now the reason I say you can ask to change your username is because it has to be approved here, and you can only request a new username once every 30 days. Even if your new username is not approved. So if you request one and it isn't approved, you have to wait another 30 days. Now on a side note here, if you're not happy with your new username that you just requested, they say here that users do have the ability to request reverting back to their original username, and they can bypass the uniqueness username check. Now I would say overall this is probably not the smoothest process, but I mean at the same time at least it is a process. And if you are choosing a username, just be careful in what you're choosing. And if you choose something that you hate, I guess that's on you. Alright, so we're on the cruise ship now. I'm about 6 whiskeys deep, and I've got Mrs. Sujano over there laughing at me, and I'm going to try to continue on here without slipping up. Anyways, next up we're talking about Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. And it turns out that the remake is going to be set for August 28th, and that's the release date. Now for those who may not be familiar with the Metal Gear Solid series, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 that came out back in 2004. It's already been over 20 years. Anyways, here in terms of the game, there's a few changes. It's not necessarily one-to-one for the original. They say here that this is not just a straight port, so it's not like The Sims 1 or Sims 2. They seem to have put a little bit of effort into this stuff. And they say the battle damage system has been upgraded with the wear and tear of Snake's clothes, as well as the bruises and bullet wounds on his body reflected in real time. And there's a brand new game mode here, Snake versus Monkey. In this mode, you play as Snake and round up all the escaped apes running amok in each stage. And speaking about Metal Gear Solid, next up we're talking about Death Stranding 2. I don't necessarily know if this is the smoothest of tie-ins, but anyways here, Death Stranding 2 has been raided in South Korea. So it's being expected that we're going to hear much more about Death Stranding 2 very soon in terms of trailers and, I guess, release dates. That's literally all I've got right now. Now, the game itself is named very interestingly. It's called Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. I think they probably could have named this one better. That might be a hot take, but at the same time here, it doesn't necessarily sound like something from Death Stranding. I could be wrong. I mean, technically you're like a delivery person in Death Stranding, so I guess it fits. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below. Next up here, we're talking about one of my favorite multi-system emulators, and that is ARES. And ARES just got a big brand new update. So at the time of filming, ARES version 142 is the latest update. And they say here 18 contributors have created 107 commits to the ARES code base. Along with various improvements to emulator cores and the ARES application itself, version 142 adds support for a brand new system, the SETA Alex 64 arcade board. They state that they support all Alex 64 titles from the MAME 0273 ROM set, except for Magical Tetris Challenge. And this is a pretty impressive update overall. On top of that, there's updates to pretty much every single system you're familiar with. For example, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 64, NES, PC Engine, and even more. And on a side note here, for those of you familiar with compiling stuff and building stuff, they've introduced a new CMake-based build system. They say it improves compatibility with modern tool chains and IDEs, and simplifies the ARES build process for new developers. And last up, we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm assuming you probably already know this as a lot of people are talking about it, but it appears that the Nintendo Switch 2 is set to be unveiled on April 2nd. Not April 1st, which I think is a smart move by Nintendo, but at the same time here, they're saying April 2nd, 2025 at 6 a.m. PT, which is 9 a.m. ET. And that seems pretty fitting given the fact that they said they were going to announce this one pretty soon. And speaking about launch dates, on a side note here, we're talking about Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and it appears that that game is launching on May 16th. I am very excited about that launch for one main reason. Some people have asked my opinions on Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and I'm not overly excited about it, except for one thing. And that's Capcom vs. SNK 2. It's a part of the collection, and I'm very excited to have that game officially supported on PC. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. But I do have a wild Mrs. Sujano right there trying to distract me as I'm recording this. I want to say thank you to absolutely everybody who is submitting news tips while I'm on vacation here, or while I'm traveling with Mrs. Sujano, because it makes my life a lot easier when I don't have the best of signal and have to be very careful in what I research and what I take a look at, and it really cuts down on my time on trying to find stuff. I really appreciate it. Anyways, we've talked about a bunch today, so feel free to discuss any of it in the comments below. And if you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, and don't tempt fate, save your state.